Hi, I'm Teacher Devi, and today we are going to discuss about sample questions, which is connected to unit. Okay, each unit. So let's look at Unit 1. So Unit 1 basically talks about family, relationship, friends, people, qualities, and their characteristics. So let's look at some example of speaking questions for Unit 1. Okay, we straight away go to part 2. Okay, when we look at part 2, the questions basically will connect you and whatever aspect that is discussed in the unit. Okay, so that's why it's individual long-term questions. So any sample question, connect it with yourself and the aspects in the unit. Okay, so for example, the sample questions is candidate A, qualities which are admirable. So talk about a person you admire. So you should say what is the name of the person, what relationships do you have with the person, what qualities do you admire in the person, why do you think these qualities are important for maintaining relationships? And then another sample question that we can see is learning about relationship. So learning about relationship. So talk about maintaining your relationship with your family members. So this can be a sample question as well. So like, what is your normal family routine at home? What qualities do you need to have to maintain your family relationship? So what activities can you do with your family? Why do you think family is important? Okay, and some other additional questions for family activities is like talk about a family activity that your family does every weekend. So this is also a sample question that you can connect yourself and whatever that is discussed in the unit, the aspects. Okay, so when it comes to part 3 discussion questions is these are some of the samples. So the discussion questions or the extended questions can be connected to family, or can be connected to a community, or also can be connected to a society. Okay, so let's look at the part 3 sample question, like which discussion question, which is the most important quality for students to have good friends. So you can discuss, choose the points and do the discussion. And then for part 3 extended question is like, in what ways do students spend their free time with friends? Okay, these are some of the sample questions for Unit 1. Okay, now let's move on to Unit 2. Okay, Unit 2 is basically about mystery. So it can be about story writing, mystery books, mystery films, novels, anything. So as I said, for part 2 is connecting yourself with whatever that is mentioned in the unit. So connect yourself with the mystery. So for example, sample questions here can be mystery books, can be about mystery films, talk about a mystery book, talk about a mystery film. So you should say like, what's the title? So these are sample questions. Okay. And then we look at part 3, which is discussion questions. So candidate A and candidate B discuss and make a choice. So let's connect this to family, community, and society. So which is the most suitable method for people to find out about historical mysteries or facts? So discuss the points. And then extended question, sample question can be, in what ways in what ways can a writer write an interesting mystery story? You see? So these are some sample questions for Unit 2. Okay, now let's move on to Unit 3. Okay, Unit 3 is basically about sports. So indoor sports, types of sports, like indoor sports, outdoor sports, okay, extreme sports. So these are some of the sample questions for part 2. Okay, like talk about a sport that you enjoy playing, okay, and then talk about a sport you would like to learn. And then these are other sample questions as well, like sports competition. So talk about a sports competition you recently watched, or sports event. Like talk about a sports event you recently participated. So these are some of the sample questions that you can practice doing for Unit 3. Okay, and then for part 3 is discussion questions. So what kind of questions we can see here, which is the most relevant reason for athletes to get paid a lot of money, because it's connected to like family, community, and society. So athletes are kind of like a community, so we can ask questions about relevant reasons relating to athletes. Okay, so choose the point and then you can answer. And then extended question is why it is important for the government to spend money and provide a world-class sports facility for athletes. you know And then another sample question for discussion, which is the most relevant reason for teenagers to do sports. So this is like a community of teenagers. So why, relevant reasons they do sports. You can choose and discuss. Okay, let's look at Unit 4. Okay, Unit 4 is all about shopping. So things related to shopping, places, words related to shopping. For example, these are some examples for part 2. Just talk about your favorite place for shopping, because part 2 is all about connecting you and the aspects discussed in the unit. So talk about your favorite place for shopping. So you can say where is the place, what do you do, who do you go shopping with, why it is your favorite place, okay, how to prevent from spending too much money while shopping. Or maybe another sample question could be buying birthday presents. Okay, talk about a place you go to buy birthday present. Okay, we scroll down, and then this is about part 3 discussion questions. So we can connect it to family, community, or society. So which is the most popular reason for people to shop online? you know and then the extended question is basically like, in what ways can online shopping cause disadvantages for customers? Okay, so these are some of the sample questions. And then we look at unit 5. Okay, unit 5 is basically about environment. So when we talk about environment, it is the environmental problems, and then what causes the environmental problem, what are the consequences, and then ways to solve or way to save the environment. So like part 2, connect it to yourself and the topics and the issues discussed in the unit. So like talk about an environment activity you participated. So this is a sample question. Or talk about an environmental problem that environmental problems. So this is like discussion question. So the environment also talks about animals, plants, so this is like extended, right? I mean discussion question. So it goes like to family, community, and society, broader perspective. So which is the most important thing for a zoo to have? Okay, good habitats for wildlife, good maintenance and no litter. So beautiful scenery, parking, cleanup days, so discuss and choose the points. So for part 3 extended question, this is like a sample question. For this part, it's like, in what ways people can help protect the animals? Okay, now let's look at Unit 6. Okay, Unit 6 is all about crime. So when we look at crime in the unit, as is discussed, types of crime, what causes crime, what are the consequences, how to overcome. So these are mainly discussed in the unit relating to crime. So sample questions, like part 2, connecting yourself and the aspects discussed in the unit, like crime story books. Talk about a crime story that you read. Crime movies. Talk about a crime movie that you watched. So these are some sample questions. Like what's the name of the book, who's the author. So this is like, what's the name of the movie, who's the director of the movie. Okay. And then this is like a crime incident, another sample question for part 2. So talk about a crime incident you heard about or you witnessed, because you connect it to yourself when it comes to part 2. And then when it's part 3, it's always about extended or going broader, like family, connecting the unit to a family or a community or a society, you know. So this sample, for example, for discussion question for unit 6 crime, it's which is the most effective method to help reduce crime in your neighborhood? Okay, and then you can discuss the points, and then extended questions like, in what ways you can help protect your family from crime? So let's look at unit 7. So when we look at unit 7, unit 7 is basically about materials, media. Okay, so these are some of the sample questions for part 2, like materials that you read. Talk about a material that you read the most. Talk about a material that you read the least, or maybe talk about your favorite material. Okay, so it's some kind of questions that connects you and the aspects discussed in the unit. So these are like, extra, like social networking sites. Talk about a social networking site that digital online version materials. Talk about a digital online version of material that Okay. And then we have more sample questions like television programs. Okay, so talk about a television program that you find informative and entertaining. Okay, so this is something related to entertainment and you. So like, what is the name of the television program? What is the television program about? Why do you find it informative and entertaining? Okay, why do you think some viewers don't like commercials being shown during the television program? Okay, and then let's look at part 3. So part 3, these are some of the sample questions. So let's think beyond us, in a broader perspective, like in terms of family, community, and society. So which is the best media that provides the best news coverage for people? Okay, so choose and then discuss. And why do you think people spend too much time on the internet? So this is like kind of an extended question. Okay, and then now we refer to Unit 8. Okay, Unit 8 is all about a job. So types of job, problems faced in job, why people change job, why people quit a job. Okay, and then interview preparation for a job. So this is basically general aspects discussed in Unit 8. So part 2, individual long-term questions. Okay, these are the sample, like talk about a job you would do in future, connect it to yourself. So choice of jobs, talk about you being a teacher in the future. Okay, uh, and then like part 3, discussion questions is like, connecting it to a broader perspective. So which is the most prominent reason for people to quit or change their jobs? So there are many reasons here you can discuss. And then the extended question is like, in what ways they can prepare themselves for an interview? Okay, because before you go for a job or you are called for an interview. Okay, this is Unit 9. Okay, Unit 9 is all about holiday. So let's go direct to the questions, sample questions like holiday activities. Talk about a camping trip you participated, connecting it to yourself. So talk about your family's favorite holiday destination. So these are some of the sample questions. And then like holiday activities, talk about your experience at the theme park, some sample questions. And then talk about a popular tourist destination that you know. Okay. And then comes to part 3. So discussion question. So which is the most prominent reason for people to travel during holidays? Okay, so you can discuss. And then in what ways can we help to reduce the impact of tourism on the environment? So connecting tourism and environment. Okay, this is Unit 10. So Unit 10 is all about culture, heritage, a place worth visiting. Okay, so these are some of the sample questions for Unit 10. For part 2, connecting the aspects discussed in the unit to yourself. So talk about a famous place in our country, talk about a place worth visiting in our country. Okay, so these are some of the sample questions. Okay, example questions. And then more example questions, like talk about a language that you would like to learn. What language, why you would like to, learn the language, what challenges will you face when you would like to learn the language. So explain. And then talk about a language that you find it difficult to learn. Okay. And then a visit to the museum. So these are some of the sample questions. Okay, a school event. Talk about your experience participating in a cultural event organized by your school. See some extra sample questions. And tour. Talk about your experience going on a tour. You visiting a place worth visiting. So talk about the tour. And then maybe you can talk about family traditions. Like talk about a family tradition that your family practices. So these are sample questions. Okay. Now we move to part 3, which is the discussion question. So which is the most important reason for teenagers to leave home when they start working? Okay. Why they want to leave home? And then extended question is like, in what ways can teenagers overcome the challenges as they leave home when they start working? Okay. So we have already discussed the overall from Unit 1 all the way to Unit 10. Okay, so this is all for now, and then on the next lesson we will discuss on Unit 11 and also on Unit 12. Thank you.